Any changes to the agenda?
There is not.
Okay, I'll call for a motion.
Move to approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
Motion made and second, approved agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public input? Yep.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Chance to read my notes. I've been getting ready for the 2022 budget, so I've been going to vendors and stuff, getting numbers for next year. Tomorrow, we are going to have a meeting at the digester to discuss the coding, the way the coding should be put on. There's going to be a contractor from Myron who will be doing the concrete work. And then Sherwin-Williams digest, or the Donahue rep will be there, and then they're going to go through and make sure that everything's going to be put on the way it should be. We had a water leak in our heat exchanger in mid-June. That was fixed. That should be warranty work because I have a feeling it's because this digester has been down for so long, the seal kind of dried up a little bit. When they pulled it apart, it was kind of crusty and stuff. Been working with Wood and McMahon on the sanitary sewer replacement on Warner Allen. Everything seems to be going all right, but I'm sure this weather is going to put them behind a little bit. It's getting pretty soupy out there. I think July 12th, they're looking at doing lateral bursting, but who knows if they're going to be ready for that. We did find an abandoned pipe that I spent half the day trying to figure out what it was for. But in 1970, they abandoned it in place and never marked it as abandoned. So the big thing that we had happen this last month, we were doing our oil changes on our lift stations, which are basically 35 feet below ground. Our bumper crane that's on our 2015 Chevy started making some weird noises, and we do not feel good about using that bumper crane anymore. I tried contacting the Stowaway people. They are not responding. I talked to Monroe Truck, who supplied the bumper crane. They're like, they do not respond to us anymore. So we're not sure if COVID took them out or what's going on. So I talked to Chad and Judy about possibly getting a new truck with a really good crane on it. That's going to be very substantial compared to the one we have. So I went out and got bids. I basically had Monroe contact everybody because they know the chassis that they need better than anybody for their boxes. So the quotes I got for you are as follows. Plot came back at $66,534. Ewald came in at $65,744 for a Chevy and $64,335 for a Ford. I also reached out to Utility, who supplies boxes for like the water department stuff. They never even came in with a bid. And I never heard back from All World Ford either. From what I heard, all the assembly lines basically are shut down for these bigger trucks. So we're not sure if we approve this when the trucks are going to even be here. But it would be nice to get the ball rolling. I talked to Judy about these quotes, and she said, because Plock is in town, we would be taking the truck in to have them work on it if we had problems with it. So it makes the most sense to go with Plock. But I guess that's entirely up to you guys if you want to approve them or not.
The one you got now is from Plock, isn't it?
Yeah, we have 2 Chevys.
Yeah.
Why do I think? What?
No, it was 6 years ago when we put the bumper crane on the bottom of our 2015. But unfortunately, the way it's positioned on the bottom, even though we clean it out all the time and the way it's supposed to, that salt and grime gets in there and just corrodes everything. Some of those gears, the metal is just, it almost looks white. Like it's just getting corroded.
Like sand.
Yeah, it's, in theory, it was great, but in practicality, it didn't work very well. So I have the bid quote on here. If anybody has any questions on the bid.
Then, I mean, when you started this research, you started looking at just for the crane.
Yes.
And because you're looking for the new truck is because all the vendors said this beefed up crane is not going to fit on our smaller
Yes.
chassis truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to make sure that's the reason why we're also looking for a truck is because the beefed up crane, the vendors were like, you're not putting that on that truck.
Mhm. Yeah, unless you want to ruin the truck, then we'll be looking for another truck.
Is our truck worth anything? Are we gonna keep it?
Yeah.
Take the crane off?
Yeah, so we have a plow on it right now, so it'd just be used for plowing, and then eventually I want to get a fourth person because 3 people still is very tough to get a lot of stuff done. So if we have 4 people, another truck would not hurt to have around.
There's none of these that can guarantee that you're gonna get this within a month. None of these 3 beds.
No, nobody's guaranteeing anything when it comes to that. Because, and hopefully,
Be like December.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the earliest I've heard. I'm waiting on a car. My wife and I ordered a car and we'd have no idea when it's coming in. So,
I went by Bergstrom and Nina the other day. They got, I never saw so many white pickup trucks. I don't remember what size they were, probably 3/4 ton, half ton. The whole on Green Bay Road there, all full, and so their fleet, that's their new fleet headquarters or something.
Problem being probably, do they have the chips in them?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's,
I mean, from what I'm hearing and what I've been talking, looking at vehicles, they've got trucks, they've got thousands of trucks and lots.
Yeah.
They do not have the chips in them. One of the chips, the
Oh,
big thing is
okay.
the one that affects gas mileage.
Okay.
So if you buy a truck now, you don't have that chip, you'll probably lose 5 to 10
Wow.
miles. Yeah,
Okay, so delivering vehicles without the chip, right?
well, that's why most of them aren't even delivering them right now.
Yeah,
That, it was just on the news again today that the biggest problem right now is the chips.
okay, yeah, we know that.
they never give back to us.
Recommending and what model vehicle?
I would recommend the Chevy 3/4 ton from Plock. Ewald basically is cheaper because they have the statewide bits and everything. That's why they can edge out everybody. But because if I have a problem and I need to have it serviced, I'm not gonna drive all the way down to Ewald to have it serviced, so.
An $800 difference too. I mean, it's
800 to 1,400
Yeah,
from the figures I've looked at, which
Stay local in town, that's good
probably be
business.
better to stay in town.
We usually do the same with the county. Keep it in the county if we can.
and I talked to Judy, we have the retained earnings to pay for this vehicle in the wastewater fund, so.
Guess we need it. We need a motion to approve it, huh? I'll make that motion.
second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the truck from Plock. I guess that's what you're saying, Fred? 66,534. Price I see the Plock truck. All right, motion made and seconded. Truck from Plock. Any questions? Favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Rain causing any problems?
It did spike our flows a little bit, but basically the only thing it's really doing that's affecting us is delaying the digester from being. It spiked up to, I think, 1.8 million gallons.
Effect. In the fact that there's one digester down, does that affect like the odor that that people might smell within 5 or 6 blocks of their, I mean, it seems like it's been worse lately, but
We have been getting a lot more holding tanks in that have a lot of odor to them, usually earlier when they're coming in, so that might be what you're smelling. The only thing the humidity really affects for us is all our pipes are basically getting condensation on them. So they never dry off. Gotta get on painting them whenever we don't have condensation. Or drier, we can catch up on that.
the other thing I noticed is some of the trucks will go like to the back, and then like I see Ninebrook back there last couple of weeks ago. I just happened to be chipping a golf ball around on the hill with my daughter, and he hooks right up directly to this thing, and it pumps right directly in there. It's all a contained system. And then the other trucks are the parade right out front, and I just wonder what's the difference? Does he bring us something?
I propose loading septic tanks into our brand new high strength machines. That is all self-contained. Everybody else is bringing in holding tanks. So holding tanks is basically 99.9999% water. So we don't want to throw that into our digesters because then we cool down the digesters and we have to spend more in fuel to keep them up to temperature. So that stuff just goes through the regular treatment. We change that front station that's kind of by Wolf River Avenue. We would have to spend roughly $1 million to bring it. We normally bring in like $150,000 annually in septics and holding tanks, so maybe over time it would pay for itself to redo that area, but we'd have to dig up and do another engineering, have Donahue or somebody come in and be like, okay, this is what we have to do, this is how much it's gonna cost, like go for bids and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's possible to do it. If you want to spend on that.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I've been,
But yeah, some of those holding tanks are a little rank, I'll admit, especially if it's still. Like if it's hanging there, it just seems to not. Have more wind, it dissipates and it doesn't last that long. But yeah, I agree.
Maybe the next couple of months, since we do have quite a few new older persons, maybe we do another tour of the plant.
Right now, it is a mess just because the digesters ripped apart and everything is dusty from the sandblasting. So, and then it doesn't pay to clean it up right now because hopefully within a month, they're gonna be sandblasting the other one. So
it might be something as simple as too, you know, they all grab the same chute, and there's maybe this much exposed. I mean, there's not that much exposed when they dump those out. And, you know, you can see the liquid and you can, and I don't know if the smell comes from that or it comes out of the tank, backs up out of the wherever it's going into, but
it's
it
basically.
seems to me making the chute like that much longer would be contained.
So right below the surface where you can't see it is a grating. And that grating, like tampons and other fibrous materials that we don't get stuck in pumps, get screened out right there. So it's actually hitting that and then kind of splashing around. So the only thing that would make the most sense is to put like a screen in there, like an automated screen, kind of like what we have in our new high strength receiving station, to take that out. But then you have to house it. You got to get it out of the element. So that's why upgrading that whole area multiple thousands of dollars. So
Yeah, that ain't worth it to. I know we need the high strength load and everything, so. I
yeah,
just-
especially like we lost Saputo, we lost $300,000 annually of revenue. So this made up for some of it. But
Okay, moving on, review and recommend the council resolution adopting Paca County All Hazards Mitigation Plan.
So in your packet, we included a letter from the Emergency Management Office from Andy Carlin. And if you read through it, you pretty much got the gist that they applied for a a grant to help them with identifying vulnerabilities in the county and to help them with other type of basically mitigation. So when you're talking about mitigation, you're talking about trying to change something to prevent, a disaster from happening. So you're looking at different areas. For example, an easy one would be river flooding. I mean, to put some money into some type of facility or raise things up. Those are all type of things that you would do to mitigate a potential hazard. So sounds like they applied for a grant and received that planning grant. And now they're to the step where all the municipalities in the county are asked to get on board and pass this resolution, basically countywide, to be a part of this mitigation plan. Again, I want to point out in his letter, at this point in time, adopting the plan or the resolution will not cost anything to the community. It only gives us eligibility if they do something in the future, if there's another grant that they apply for or things. And at that point in time, if there is a cost, if they decide to, recommend something, then at that point in time, we have the option to evaluate to see if it's something we want to do or not. So this is just basically saying that we'll be part of their planning efforts. And if there's an opportunity at us to be involved in, this gives us the chance to do that. So
Make a motion, we approve the resolution.
Motion made and seconded to approve resolution. Back to county all hazards mitigation plan. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Director's report.
nothing too exciting to report here. Well, first of all, our service anniversaries, Devin, was that? Jasani, I screw up his name every single time. He's actually got 6 years of service with us, full-time and part-time as of June 10th. And then Ben, he just left, darn it. Ben Gruel completed 21 years on July 3rd. So congratulations to both of them. Warner Allen, that's our major project going on, as everybody knows. We are finding things that Ben just indicated that you don't find things until you dig them up. We did find a large storm sewer pipe that nobody knew that was there. When they dug it up, we went back in a bunch of records and found out, looks like they abandoned that pipe that we found back in the late 70s, and nobody had it on any future maps, so it was just underground. So they had to work around that a little bit. There's been some minor things so far, minor change orders. I think we're up to, about $3,000 in change orders right now, which isn't bad, just for minor things that have been coming up, some changes. So things are going pretty well with that aspect. Like Ben mentioned, pipe bursting on the residential units properties is planning on starting next week if everything goes well. But I guess there's nothing really exciting else to report on. They're just plugging away on that. And then, like I said in my memo, I'm working with Enterpipe and our engineer. We have a storm water ditch that goes right through their property. And looking back at the records, it seems like this ditch might have been on a property line at one point in time, and then they purchased both properties on either side of it, which kind of made it, they surrounded this stormwater ditch that we have an easement for. There's some erosion and things going on, so we're investigating that. And the DNR, we're trying to set up a meeting with the DNR to come out. It's a lot easier when you bring them out and show them what's going on, and you can work with them and the engineers instead of make a proposal, send it to them, they deny it, you redo it, you send it to them, deny it. So we're trying to get a meeting with the DNR reps to come on out and just have a conversation so we know what we're going to do for resolution with that. So hopefully I have more information on that at our July or our August meeting. And that's it.
All right. Next thing is future agenda items.
There's nothing I can think of right off the bat. I'm sure things will come up, but nothing in the works right now.
Okay. Discuss and confirm the next meeting, August 2nd, 2021.
Yep, that'd be the next regular date. And if anybody's doesn't have any issues, we'll just plan on that regular date then.
Nothing else, we'll call for a motion for adjournment.
move to adjourn.
Seconds adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying
Aye.
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 Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
We need a little break, or are we gonna go right into Parks and Rec?
Whatever you want to do. You want to go right in?
April, you can come on down. And if anybody in the back didn't sign in, please sign in, just so we have everybody here. Otherwise, we'll pretty much fall right into the Parks and Rec meeting. Sir, if you can sign in, just came in, up front at on the table.
There you go. Okay, being as it's 4:50, we'll call the Park and Rec meeting to order. Any changes to the agenda? Take a look for a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second to adopt agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted. Is there any public input about anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, take care of that. Okay, discussion of the baseball and softball diamond usage. You got that, Chad?
So we had this request to put this on the agenda. I don't know if, I thought there were gonna be some more people here from youth softball, but we just had some discussion about usage of diamonds, who gets to use them and things like that. There's been, I'm gonna be honest, there's been some conflict with some of the clubs and with some of the local clubs and some of the club teams in town. It was just asked to kind of put it on the agenda, but I don't know if anybody from youth softball is here tonight to kind of bring that up.
I can say a few things about it. Basically, it comes down to how they can schedule full nights and how they can take a diamond from 4 to 10 for practice. That's something we got to do on our end to limit that. And then I guess this one I'm not positive about, but they're at the wrong diamond a couple Thursdays ago. I don't know, they had the high school reserved and they ended up at Memorial. Carrie had said. I just don't know how we can get this so that our local teams can have practices. That was the question.
Go ahead.
Ginger?
pardon me. I was gonna ask, follow up there.
Also, I've been taking some of the complaints that have been coming in, and I know that the care of the diamonds is also something that's concerning that we talk about with the organization, because we do communicate with them regularly, almost daily. And if you have a group that's coming in and using the facility that's in the sports organization that we communicate with regularly, we can't relay those messages to them. Like, for instance, we're having some issues up at the high school right now with their diamond that's very soft in the pitching area. So we've told people that we have in contact with, hey, the high school pitching mound is really soft. When you're done with it, can you water it down and tamp it down really good so that it's preserved a little bit more? And we can have that communication with the youth sports organizations because we have their contacts and we have that connection with them. And we don't have that connection with the private clubs, which I think that Chad would say we're more than welcome to maybe start that relationship with them, but we need a relationship with them to have that kind of communication.
It basically comes down to communication. I mean, when we started this year, every year we start with a group meeting with all the clubs, make sure everybody's on the same page. We didn't realize that Impact was going to start practicing again. You know, nobody communicated that to us, nor did we communicate to you. So, you know, it's a matter of just, I think, getting everybody together to make sure we're all communicating on the same page again. It's been a practice in the past that, like Dave was talking about, that the teams have booked practices for an hour and a half at a time, you know, and now, did we communicate that to you? Probably not. You know, nothing was going on. So Bob and I talked about this today, and maybe it's just a matter of fact that we get the clubs together, sit down in a room and just talk about the expectations. So everybody's on the same page. I mean, maybe that's probably what it is more than everything. If we can't come and do a resolution out of that, then, we can talk about bringing something back to committee about, setting up some more guidelines. But in the past, we've just always communicated things and make sure everybody's on the same page and the expectation and things like that. So I guess that's our proposal at this point in time, unless this group wants to do something else, and unless you guys want to do something else. I mean, we can just,
I would just respond. I mean, we weren't on the wrong guy. I think he kind of indicated, well, I don't really know this, but I'll say it anyway, kind of like last year. Right? I don't really know some things, but I speak up about it anyway. But we've not been on the wrong guy. So you can look up what we have reserved, and it's clear, right? I don't even know why you would say such a thing. And we have an account to reserve the diamonds, just like any. That means you have my email address. You certainly could communicate with me at any time, like face it up, X or Y or Z, right? No way do we not want to comply. I mean, I don't understand. I'm happy to have a meeting and work everything out and make sure everybody's happy and things are equal. But I just don't think it's that, right? I mean, I think it's that ultimately they don't like that impact is here, right? And I get that, totally understand that. But it is what it is, right? I mean, I live here. The kids that play for us live here. We just aren't New London softball or New London baseball. So I get that you don't like it, but I don't, what do you, I mean, Plaque would like if another automotive dealer was here, but they can be, right? So I just don't understand why each year, like you told me that there was a complaint about raking the time. That's why we're supposed to be here. But as far as I know, and I was on the softball board, there was no requirement to rake the diamonds when you're done. And when we show up, the diamonds aren't raked. I'd love to rake them. I'd be happy to rake them. The rakes are locked. I don't have a key. I'd be happy to go buy some rakes and bring them, but I would need to know that that's a requirement, right? So I just I feel as though they just don't like it, right? And I kind of get that, and I try to stay out of their way because they don't like it and to not cause a problem. But we're looking for problems. We've had 3 practices. And I booked them on Sunday with the practice on Tuesday, and every diamond was wide open, everyone. So, I'm not sure what the issue is, right? Like we're talking about booking from 4 to 9, which is what we do because we just run one long practice. Instead of going multiple days, we just do one long one. I can see that's a problem if the diamonds are at capacity, but on Sunday they're all open. Now, we did have somebody show up at the diamond and say, oh, we usually practice here. And we took out the reservation and said, well, we reserved it. Yeah, well, no. That isn't us doing.
Hey, I'm gonna
something.
stop you there because you called me out.
That is,
You go on Active Communities right now. Last Thursday, you had the high school.
I did.
Yes.
And I had Memorial.
No,
Look
New London,
it up.
right here. I have it up right now. Both Memorial Diamonds on Thursdays are booked for our tournament teams. There's no way you had Memorial.
Besides, we weren't at Memorial.
Yes, you were. I was there.
Hey, hold her up now. Just don't, my suggestion, and I talked with Chad about this, is to get a representative from each of the groups together. And maybe with Ginger or with Chad and see if you can't work this situation
What
out.
is the issue though? That's what I'm.
Well, I don't,
What I understand, the only complaint that I'm hearing is the booking of 6 hours of the tournaments. I heard nothing about one club not liking the other club. There was nothing like that. It's more of communicating back and forth of equal amount of times for everybody and everybody getting use of them.
Okay,
And
so
that's
the-
what we're talking
so
about
the diamond
strictly.
capacity issue that I'm asking, how come the diamonds have been open all year? They haven't been reserved at all. I'd like to see the schedule because on Monday, either on Sunday night or Monday, when I reserve them, they're the only one booked is Hatton.
They're booked.
Then they're getting booked late. I did it, every time, we had 3 practices, I did it 3 times on Sunday night for Tuesday, and they were all open. That's what I'm saying is, do we have capacity? Okay, if we do, then there's something to be discussed about, like, hey, how do we split times and make sure it's equitable?
Correct, and that's exactly what they were.
But I'm saying, I don't know that there's a capacity issue. I haven't seen that based on what's online. So I totally get it. We want to be fair too. And we only have 2 teams. So we practice once a week with each team. So it's not like we're taking up all their stuff.
So you reserve 1 diamond for 6 hours, 1 night a week,
4 to 9.
4 to 9, 5 nights a week?
No,
Who am I let's doing?
4 to 9.
4 to 9.
Yep. 1 diamond for 1 team each. So 2 teams. 1 practice for 1 team, 1 practice for another.
So 2 diamonds once a week.
You know, we kind of went through the same issue. That was 2 years ago when we kind of hashed this whole
Yeah.
thing over again. And I thought it was kind of solved, but apparently it's not. It's back again. So I don't know. My suggestion is to get somebody, you know, not have a big group in here, but get 1 from each group together and see if we can come up with a solution, maybe with Ginger or with Chad, to see if we can get does that sound like a fair deal to you? Dave, no, you're involved in this too, because you're not involved in it?
No, I'm just not gonna get called out.
Just a representative.
Oh,
You got information
Okay.
from.
Gary Tenney would be the contact for softball.
Right.
I'm happy to do anything. Again, we're not here to cause a problem. We just coach softball. It's not really all that complicated. And we need a couple of diamonds. I'm a little upset because I keep getting told about all this stuff that we do that we don't do. Just like last year, it was like, oh, we leave trash at the diamond, we wreck everything, but yeah, that's true. Right? And so that is why I feel like, hey, what is the real problem? Let's just get it addressed and be done with it. If it's a capacity issue, great, let's equitably split it up and move on. If we're supposed to rake the diamonds when we're done, great. Either I'll have to go buy some rakes or give me a key to the ones that have lined up. There's no problem on our side other than continuously having to talk about this.
go ahead, Mike.
They're saying that your teams, the girls are all from New London.
No, I'm not saying that.
Well, that's the way I understood you
I said
5 minutes ago.
I said the majority of our kids are from. But New London baseball and New London softball, they don't have all their kids from New London. They have kids from Shiocton and Hortonville and Clintonville and Manawa and everywhere else.
Well, without everybody being here, a representative from the other group, is it Tenny that we're talking about? I don't know
I
her,
don't know.
but she's, I guess, the other player in the game. So without her being here, I don't think it's fair to have make a decision on this. I think we got to get all your group together with Ginger. You would be the one, Ginger, and see if we can't work it out. If we can't, well, then we'll go to plan B, whatever that might be. Does that sound like a fair solution? What about you, Dave? You're involved in the baseball. Does that sound like a fair way to doing it?
Yeah, that'll work.
Does that sound all right with you to do it that way?
Yeah, I'm fine with
Okay.
whatever.
All right.
Wasn't it softball that asked for this meeting?
It's several different individuals, we thought we'd bring it up just to kind of get things, the communication going, because, like I said, in the beginning of the year, we usually have a meeting to bring all the players in, and we didn't know you guys were going to practice on the diamonds this year, use the diamonds this year. So we didn't realize that. You didn't attend the meeting. So I think a lot of this conflict might be the communication. You don't know our expectation.
I didn't know about the meeting.
Yep, because we didn't know you were going to practice either. So there's been a lack of communication all around what the expectations are. So yeah, we've asked all our coaches to rake out the diamonds when they're done. Well, we've had that for years. I've had that in my letter for the parents for probably 8-10 years.
I do have one thing there.
Go ahead, Dave.
I have a question. Now, maybe it's on your system that's glitching. You said you practice twice a week from 4 to 9. When I go through this system, you have the middle school diamond on 6/28 from 4 to 9, You have the high school diamond, 628 from 4 to 9. 629, you have, I believe it was the high school again from 4 to 9. And then on that Thursday, you had the high school from 4 to 9. That's what's showing up on our system.
Yeah, we've never been at the middle school. The only time we reserved it was today, and then we're out.
I'm telling you what is showing up on our system, and that is what is, because that is blocking them 4 diamonds from 4 to 9.
10 o'clock. I've never blocked it, except for today. We had the middle school today.
So that, I'm just telling you, that's what is causing this. It was,
We've been at the high school, and once we blocked Memorial, one of the back.
and that's another issue that we're gonna have to figure out is how you got how you possibly could have got the Memorial on a Thursday, because that's blocked for our tournament practices all year. It has been. So I don't know how it was open for you to see it. And that they were there because I would have had a scrimmage that night. And then we were gonna practice on Northfield, and they went down to the South Field, which was fine.
I don't believe they were there, because the only day we had Memorial.
I looked right at your daughter. Your daughter was sitting on the pail. I looked right at Pete, looking right at me. And then she went down to the South Field, which was fine. And then her and James worked it out last Thursday, and then James practiced a little bit later.
Oh, that's
It
when the
worked.
guy showed up.
Huh?
When the guy showed up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the whole story because I had a scrimmage, so I was up on the North Field.
So the guy that said to her that he didn't.
Yeah, because our coaches don't reserve that. The organization does every Thursday. It's same as Pfeiffer down there. Pfeiffer is reserved every Thursday for our tournament teams.
This is one of the things that we got to get,
Yeah.
see if we can get resolved.
Yes, it
get
is
resolved with
reserved.
this.
It shouldn't have allowed him to even click on it because it should have shown all red check marks are in.
Right, but it did.
So that's the stuff
And that-
that'll be
that's some of
taken
the
care of
stuff
in that meeting.
Got to get, that's got to get straightened out.
That'll get
John, you got
straightened out
something?
for everybody. But them are the things that are talked about. Nobody asked for a meeting or anything. It's the job of the committee and the staff to recognize that there's a problem. That's why it's on the agenda.
Hey, John, you got something?
If there's a problem, we will happily work out a solution, right?
Absolutely.
I just sometimes wonder how big the problem is when we only have 2 teams.
It may be no problem. But right now, like you said, there's other stuff going on. There's stuff that's shown and a simple getting together with the people involved will hopefully solve that.
And we're happy to do whatever we need to do. So,
Thank you.
Okay, John, you got something?
I think it's pretty much figured out, but I mean, I'm not a computer programmer, but is there any way that tweak can be made to the system for preservation so that put those communication parts out there and so that it doesn't, so that assumed every Thursday, whatever, that doesn't allow somebody to double book? I mean,
It
it's
shouldn't
kinda
have.
like-
It shouldn't
It should
have.
have
It
been
shows up
booked
big
already.
X's and you can't click on it again.
It wasn't assumed that it was booked. The organization booked it,
And it was
but
blocked off.
something got overridden.
Russian
that's-
hackers or something.
Yeah, that's something.
I don't know nowadays.
Yeah,
You
right.
can't trust any
Well,
computer
that's-
system.
That's something that they can look at in between now and the next meeting that's put together with the organizations.
So we'll get something together and get a hold of you guys and work out something with this. See if we can get it solved. That for you? Okay. Okay, let's move on then to approve the trail extension easement from behind the waters.
Yep, in your packet, you'll find a copy of a extension easement that Earl Ladders drafted up. Reason this is coming up to you guys right now is because our easement for the trail segment behind the waters is expiring in August. It's a 10-year easement. And basically what we're doing is saying, hey, we'd like to renew it. I've got a verbal nod from the waters, from Pat over the water. So we want to make sure we get approved on your end, and then they'll sign it on their end, and then we'll continue to have that trail easement for another 10 years.
I move we approve that.
Motion to approve it. Got a second?
Second.
Motion made and second to extend the easement behind the waters. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, I think this is the mayor's, huh? Pardon?
I've seen 2 of them so far.
Oh, yeah?
Want to take this one or you want me to take
Yeah.
this one?
The discussion on maintenance and replacing the Hatton Park, yeah, I brought that up. I've been notified that the wall is deteriorating and it looks like garbage. So some people threw out some suggestions and they wanted to talk about it, or us to talk about it, what we can do to maybe fix it, remove it, or any other ideas. Chad, I talked with Chad and Chad brought up some of the repair options for, oh, you got the demolition in there too. $4,000 to remove it. Did you guys read through any of that? Basically the maintenance on it is outstanding. Where you have the,
So just kind of backtrack a little bit. We talked about this in 2018 and we had an engineer look at different options for the wall. And at that point in time, they put 3 different options together. One was to repair the stone wall, and this is in 100-foot sections. This would be with the foundation, you know, with the existing stone. The next option would be a stone wall replacement with a footing foundation, and then the other one was just be with a slab. If you read through, I believe he pointed out in his email, you know, Mother Nature is the big, you know, thing we're trying to battle with the wall, just because number one, when the ground moves, it's moving the wall around with the frost heating and things like that. Just like your house, if you didn't have a good foundation to get below the frost line, you'd have issues. And then the second option, or the second issue, is with the moisture, especially in the spring when you have freeze thaw nights. If it thaws out and melts during the day and then it freezes at night, all that water gets in between the rock and starts causing havoc too. So it's an ongoing battle. Yeah, the wall's been there for years, and he even made comment that it's not in the worst shape compared to how many years it's been there. But, you know, if you're gonna stick money into it, you know, do you look at really doing it right? And really doing it right is very, very expensive. So even if you would hire somebody just to kind of patch it in and you know, slabber in some border in there, I mean, you're looking at, it's labor intensive. That's the big challenge. You know, it's very labor intensive. So we've talked about throwing money at this in the past. We've had it in past year's budget, but once we get to prioritizing the budget for that year, it's always been kind of put on the back burner just because of road projects or equipment replaces are necessary because things are failing. So it's always just been kind of put on the back burner in the past. So
that's
where we're at, I guess.
where we're at. And like
Was
you
it
said, the people-
40,000 per 100 foot? That what it was?
Depending on which option you're looking at.
44, that was.
So you putting in a foundation, let's see, was it the first? Okay, so the first option, repair a 100-foot stretch, put a foundation under and use the existing stone for the wall. So you're gonna pull the stone out, get as much mortar off the stone as you can, labor intensive, and then put a foundation, put it back in. You're looking at 44,000 for every 100 feet. And I think this option was just ripping all the stone out and bringing new stone in, so you not have that labor intensive thing, just trying to reuse the old stone. And that was 46,000. And then just putting a concrete slab down for the new stone to be on, 34,200 for every 100 feet. But every option, you're basically removing the old stone in some capacity, whether you're gonna reuse it or not.
And still comes with yearly maintenance.
That's per 100 feet. How many feet? It's in that.
Depends on where you're gonna go. You're gonna go around the whole thing, you're probably talking a mile. That goes all the way around in the back,
Right.
you know.
I mean, basically, where it looks bad is probably from,
Stadium to the entrance,
yeah,
Washington.
I've gotten
or
complaints about the back of people walking it, and they're like, when you walk through the trails, it looks pretty shady.
Yeah, it's gotta be bad back there.
I don't see the point in fixing it back there though.
Ironically, it was like in the last month, I've gotten 3 or 4 questions or complaints about it.
And I know we've talked about it a couple
Yeah.
of times already in the past few
You're
years.
on the road, Jennings is where it's spots.
Yeah, from the park entrance to
Just along
west.
Corner Allen is about I don't know,
Jennings, it's really bad where that culvert goes through.
2,800
I mean,
there.
it's,
Gone there. Yeah.
okay.
Either that or just take it all over to Bernie. Is it okay by the tennis courts?
Hmm?
Is it okay by the tennis courts?
No, that's terrible because there's
Yeah.
such a,
That's what I
Yep.
thought.
there are,
So 90
Looking at,
times whatever number you come up with.
I mean, is that wall
9,000
super
feet.
important?
We want a fence?
Well, it's very historical to New London.
it was put in by the WPA Work Progress Administration in the 1935.
1936, we're at 35, 36, yeah.
During the depression. yeah.
WPA project.
I mean,
Only guy alive during that time. Thanks, Fred.
I wasn't around then.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
He was over there and he was helping them.
So there's some things that we have to look at, you know, do we decide to let it deteriorate by itself as is historical? Do we decide to modify it? Do we decide to take it down? And I think it's to a point where we need to kind of make a decision how we're gonna move forward with the wall.
I just have one question. Is
Go ahead.
there still a Hatton Stadium Memorial Foundation in town?
There is, but their focus is only on the stadium itself. They do not fundraise for the park, and that's in their bylaws and what their focus was when they were created. So, and to be honest, they're even, I mean, with a lot of groups, they're even struggling keeping members and,
They're-
you know, fundraising as well. So, their focus is just the stadium itself and not the rest of the park or the wall.
I'm gonna throw out a couple or an idea that I was tossing around. It is very historical for New London, so I would not want to see the wall be removed. With that said, I think removing a portion or removing the wall and keeping portions of it. Look at what is more historic, you know, where the entrance are over by the stadium, and put some money into that to restore it and keep it and make it look nice and something that's affordable for the city to maintain. And it also looks nice
And I
rather
think,
than just move it all and get rid of it.
Yeah, I like that.
I think maybe where it ends, where Bernie mentioned on Jennings, maybe just take that piece off and, you know, build something else there. Because that's really where the wall ends. But dress it up as an entrance off Washington and Warren Allen Road. And also entrance to the main entrance, the stadium off Jennings.
how do you figure it ends on Jennings Street? That's not including the end,
There's a culvert there and it's, the stuff's already fallen down.
right?
You could end it there and make it look nice.
You just end it
The
there.
opening right through there.
Yeah.
Well,
But also-
hard. That
But
you could
also,
End it there. That way, when you're coming in both entrances, it would look really nice. I'm with Billy. I wouldn't, even though it's historical and everything. Stuff in the back, I would just leave that and let it, you know,
Just
leather
take,
with historically.
take the stuff
How
that's
it's
falling
gonna
down
be.
out of there.
That wall that's in front, we really should look at doing something.
I would suggest that we, in some way, shape or form, whether it's public hearing or whatnot, but put this out there to the public and let them have a discussion as well. Just to find out what thoughts and ideas are. Maybe they have better thoughts and ideas.
I think once they see how much it costs,
Yeah.
plus they're willing to help raise some money.
I mean, we can all sit here and have the ideas, but if
Yeah.
we get some info from the public, that'd be a lot better.
You know, probably one of the things you're probably gonna get is, do you want to do your roads or do you want to do the wall for the
Right.
park? That's
Right.
probably one of the things that's going to come up when you start talking about it, sticking a couple $100,000 in a wall, or do you want to do a couple streets in town? So I'm sure that's going to get brought
I
up,
think
but
they just have. the-
I like your idea
have
of
that option.
possibly putting it on a referendum or doing something like that. That way, everybody in town gets to kick the can. I like that idea myself. I don't know anybody else does.
I think either way, we have to do something about, it. We have to make a decision as a committee, but,
And like Dave says, the big areas that you see, like down by the stadium.
Anything that you can drive by.
Yeah.
So the way that my math figures out, this is low ball. Okay, you're looking at 45 sections. If you just do half the part that you can see.
2 million.
Yeah, you're looking at 45 sections of wall, which I'd welcome anybody to sponsor per section. Uh,
Put
One
your name
section
on
of
it.
100 feet can be Tyson Foods for
Yes, that's a great
44,000.
idea. Have people sponsor them.
But then if they paid, but anyway, $1,980,000 just for that,
Yeah,
just the bare necessities.
it ain't gonna happen.
So unless you did sponsor 100 feet, I don't know. I don't see it happening. I mean,
With what you said, John, you also have to look into the longevity of that maintenance that's gonna have the upkeep. Are we gonna have the budget to have that upkeep of the full wall as well? I mean, that's just food for thought.
Yeah, you redo it, you still got to upkeep it, so who's,
Well,
that's more money.
like, just like I'd expect if we spend $30,000 on a crane, I wouldn't want it to break down on the back of a pickup truck in 2 years, but I wouldn't want to spend $2 million and expect to do much maintenance on it.
Well, okay, the existing wall that we have right now was put in 1935?
Like that, yeah, yeah.
Okay, 1930. How much upkeep does it cost us to that wall right now?
We haven't
I don't-
done much lately. I
The
mean,
city's never. Lately, 20 years, 30 years, how much has been done? Cost us what, 5, 6 grand a year, maybe? 10 grand, 20 grand? Because it's not going very far, because whatever we're putting into it is nothing. So we sink in some money, we build the wall, make it look decent. People want to use it more. Like right now, I can't even drive my vehicle around there because kids 10 years ago decided to go bomb ham around the park. Nobody wants to use the park right now because they can't utilize it. They walk around and they go into the swampy area and kids go in the back and smoke weed. Wow, really fun. Good for them. We need to get something a little more inviting that's not so dark and, mystical in there. Then people would use it. We would get revenue from renting. Stuff could come in. We already don't take care of the wall that's there very much. So why are we worried about upkeep when we barely upkeep something from 1935? So if we sunk in new technology, put up a better wall in certain areas, make it look better and preserve what's there, we can then, fob that off for the next how many years, just like we had before. It should last way longer than it did before because we have better technology now apparently than 1935. It's gonna last better. Plain and simple.
I don't
We
know.
could do the nice area where it comes in, run a nice fence all the way down, around everything, make it look pretty, and the entrances are nice like they used to be. Still gives the same ambiance, it's more inviting, everything's ready to go. These are all, like you said, these are things we could all get all opinions in here, figure it out and make it work. But to be worried about putting $2 million into a wall, that ain't gonna happen. No. Think about it. We're doing how many $1 million in a road? We'd be murdered. Put $2 million into a wall.
You just went two ways on that.
I didn't. We're not gonna put up a wall. What I'm saying,
Last sentence.
this isn't a Trump thing. No, what I'm getting at is that there's a better idea to do this. We could put up a fence. We could fix the little entrances areas to make them look original. Put up one of them nice cedar, like farm fence things. I'm not a fencing person. That's in my head. So, it runs it down there. You still have this wall that's up. The original stuff is there. The nostalgia is there. The history is there. It's way cheaper to put one of them up. If we had to maintain it, it would be way cheaper to maintain it. And would still get to the same point because just what he said, we couldn't sink that money. There's no way we could do that. We could come up with an idea or a way to do it cheaper and get it done so everybody's happy on both sides of it. But to eliminate the wall completely that just can't happen, But we
I don't
didn't
think
maintain it in the first place, actually back to it, so why
Anybody
would we
wants
start
to
maintaining it now?
It's gonna go piece by piece, Steve. It's not the whole wall. All the way around the park. I mean, knowing hell, what did Johnny figure out? $1.5 million?
Yeah, that's
No, we want to make it look, do some cosmetic
right,
work
an
on it
entrance,
where it's
both
visible to the
entrances,
public
and then a nice fence
and
around. it.
help out wherever else we can, but it's not gonna be a massive undertaking because we don't have the money.
Exactly.
And even if they were to refurbish sections of it and stuff, we don't have to have a fence up there. I mean, the park does not have to be fenced in per se. I'm just saying.
Per se, yeah, but we're already worried about kids driving around the back, so we can't do that anymore. Can't get back there. So if we get rid of that fence that's there, what's gonna stop the kid from tooling his
Get in the
truck through
back of
there?
that, you just have to walk.
Oh, I don't do that. Body by quick.
It's a
Trip.
walking trail.
There's a lot of people that utilize that in walking. A lot
Right.
of people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I utilized it to drive the scooter back there and go check out the bee tree and a lot of other things.
Better without cars back there.
I do too.
That's my honest opinion. I like it better
That's
with
fine.
people
Everybody has their opinion,
where
but
they can run and
And Bernie, you were saying the whole front wall right there to refurbish all that? Everything that you see?
It's on Jennings Street.
Second.
Oh, Jennings,
Every other section.
You go down Jennings from the entrance of the park
Going west.
to the west.
There are some places of that wall that look pretty good still. I don't think we'd have to,
But if you go down where turns into Cedarhurst, it looks like a busted ass.
yep, there it is.
yep, I can't, Google didn't go straight, Google
Right
turned
from that opening down to the corner of where the park is the corner. It's
back
down on
here.
the
It's
corner
so
by
wet
Bob
back
Hoppy's
there.
property.
and that's, we don't need that part. I would stop it at that
Yeah, but
opening.
then you're taking the historical part of the wall away.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have people climbing up your ass because you're doing it.
Oh, I agree.
Well, that's,
I wouldn't
can't
take it out. I
afford
would
to-
leave it there.
We
But
can't
I'm
afford
saying
Yeah, but if you're gonna refurbish, that's where I'd start.
way on that.
Anything you can drive by and see
Oh, I
that
see what
looks
you're
like a
saying.
busted ass
Yeah.
is what
Okay.
you should fix.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
would-
exactly what you said. I think that's why we should have a public forum or whatnot and to bring in and find out what the public does want, what they do expect. It's their tax money.
I like that idea. I mean, that way you ain't gonna have so many people on your neck. I like the idea of giving like a referendum or a forum or something. If you'd have a meeting, say at the Washington Center or something like that and have people come up there and get input from people. It's not gonna, because if you do a referendum, then you gotta have the ballots go out on the election and
Well, I
stuff like
think the
that.
referendum would be next as far as the amount of money and stuff like that.
In a referendum is yes, no question.
Yeah.
Referendum's
You're not
an
gonna get any
option. So you're
discussion.
you're probably talking about like a public informational session.
Public information, yeah, right. I'm thinking maybe at the Washington Center, have it come up there, maybe have a couple of them. Because otherwise you might have a lot of people there.
You'd have to have a couple of them.
Yeah, and get people's input on what they would do, kind of get an idea what we want to do and what they want. Go ahead.
Chad, is there anything on just restoring, like, right there, you wouldn't have to do anything to that wall?
And that's Tim's point. I mean, there's a lot of sections that are good yet. There's just areas where it needs.
I mean, you're right, like, I'm looking at that
fixed.
one dark spot right there, you're
Yep.
there, right there. I mean, is there anything in there? Because I wouldn't want to move the wall.
And I think that's the point. I mean, we would probably just hire somebody who knows masonry and, fix, say this section we want fixed, and we're not spending $44,000 to put a new, foundation in.
I would hate to.
It's
do
a
all
matter
that,
of,
to Be honest.
you're
with
putting
you.
Band-Aids on it, but you're
That's-
hoping.
That's not the historic, even if you put in a whole new one, that's not really historic then, because
Correct.
you're.
Right, that's why I don't know
If
if
you
there any,
use the
is there a
existing
company
rock-
out there that
Right, but it
does,
At
still kind of
44,000
loses a little bit.
there's a company out there that does restoration on that
Well,
type of stuff? I mean, I think that would be,
lab.
there's a
Terry-
lot that's
Terry
good, but
Lab.
there are some
Yeah.
sections that are
Does
just horrible.
Possible, go ahead, Mike.
I think the first thing we gotta do is we've got to inform the people of New London how much it's gonna cost to do it.
Yeah.
Got to get this out to the people. And if they want to do it, fine. But to me, I would say the sections I would be worried about is two entrances dropped down on Washington Street, which is where I would say 80% of your traffic goes into the park. From there, but we got to inform the people how much it's going to cost and see what some of them think.
If there's like really bad segments,
There's
just
bad
take them
sections.
out. And just have a space there.
Well,
The other
one
thing,
time
like-
we talked too, at one time we talked about making an opening across from Parkview, because we got a parking lot across the street. So there you'd probably let go of something.
Like Mr. Besaw said too, you know, there's a lot of our citizens and taxpayers are very concerned about our roads. I mean, we have to be diligent what we're doing with the city taxes money that we receive. And that's why we do need to get them involved and find out.
These restoration places do free estimates.
I would
Think that restoring it would be cheaper, and we're not looking for a Cadillac rest, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be shiny. We want it to look like it was put in 1935. The sections they gotta fix, they can theoretically, they could take the wall from the sections in the back and still use the same stone and everything up in the front.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They could bring that stuff up there to beautify this again. And if that lasted since 1935 and 30 years I've been here, it hasn't really changed. I mean, since I've been climbing that wall,
It's
it's got worse, but not.
Kind of like Steve said, we haven't stuck any money in before. So if you'd stick a little bit in now, a little bit, you know, you don't have to do it all in 1 year.
Put the back, restore the front, and they might not have to deal with it for another 100 years, and none of us will be here.
Sure.
Didn't we put some money in a few years ago at like the Washington Street entrance, just those two columns and possibly the stadium column?
I would think somebody
I
did, because
thought we
that did get cleaned
something
up at
a
one
few
time.
years ago. You know, we did a
Well, that was
little bit
probably
there.
15 years ago, I would say.
I was
'Cause
gonna
I
say, it was-
remember seeing it and like, it just appeared one day.
Yeah.
I think it was before my time, so that would have been.
Yeah,
over
it
13
had
years
to have been a
ago.
while ago, because I had moved away, 20 years ago when I came
Do you
back.
remember that?
I'm like, when did they fix that? Like, I remember as a kid walking through and it was gone, and now it's back
Yeah.
again. And that's at the entrances on Jennings there. That was repaired. Somebody did that.
Mhm.
And it looks great. You couldn't even tell if you were coming into town or whatever.
So what kind of a consensus have we arrived at here? Now we've been talking for a while. So what do we really want to do now? Do we want to have a
I like
hearings?
the referendum.
Referendum?
Or not a
Oh, no, I would
referendum,
like,
Oh, public
I would
Public-
like an estimate on a restoration project, and then when we have that number, then
Yeah.
we can go to the
That,
public
you
with
would
it.
have to do that, right?
Not a referendum yet. We'd have.
No,
to have
no.
a-
Not a ref,
No.
with that
Talking
public.
with the
Pub-
public. see if
public
that's
forum.
Something they want.
Yeah,
But
forum, yeah.
we don't have a number.
No, you need,
Numbers
that's,
from 2018.
I agree with you. We got to get a number to give to the people at a hearing or whatever we're gonna have, public hearing.
Everyone just. I don't know what we're looking at here, if these were numbers pulled out of the air, but. We just paid somebody several $1,000s since 2015. I maybe wasn't on the council, but I was sitting in this room. We just paid somebody, I swear, since 2015. To give us some of these estimates, because this ain't the first time we started talking about this. Mayor had somebody asking, and it's been brought up. Now we got this number of 44,000, anywhere from 44 to 34,000 per 100 feet. We got some numbers, so we already can talk to people and say, look. If we just did half of it, we're looking at $2 million. So we got some numbers. Now, do you want to spend more money, get an engineer to come in? What if we get Ryan Hobbs to pack some mortar in there? I mean, what kind of repair work do you want? You want it to just make it look a little better, match the mud the best you can? Or, you know what I mean? We can make ourselves feel better so we can move on tonight and say, well, let's get a cost study. But we need more specifics here. I mean, Chad needs some direction. How much money is he gonna get put into getting an estimate on it? How serious are you about sticking money into this? And are you talking in the $2 million price range, or are you talking into we can't just leave the meeting and go up, tell people, all right, we got this price for $44,000 for 100 feet. We have to
Do a complete rebuild.
right,
That's,
but we have to like,
That's why,
Oh,
but
I-
it's a
I guess-
restoration. That's the whole thing
I
is,
wanted the restoration numbers.
yeah, because.
Have another number to
That's a
go
whole-
with.
We've had those kind of figures given to us before, I believe.
You know, and your restoration numbers is just gonna be ongoing. So I think it comes down to how much you want to spend per year.
On the
wall.
maintaining the wall.
So that's exactly it. Do you want to spend $10,000 a year and then every year we're just gonna, we've got this amount of money, we have a couple different quotes from people and whoever can go the longest with that amount of money, you just hire from that year. And that's what we tried to do in the past. We tried to put some money in the budget, but like I said, it's always gotten pushed down in the back burner because other
Priority.
priorities have been coming up. So do you want to spend 5,000 a year? Do you want to spend 10,000 a year and just keep on going until you're done? I mean, but to your point, that's where we struggled with. I mean, if we do a major remodel, then you're talking about bidding it out. And how do you put bid specs together for this?
Right.
It's very challenging to put a bid spec together.
I'm just saying what my point was, every 5 to so years, this comes up, somebody brings it up and city looked like Beirut and I'm having a bad moon and I'm gonna. We get the big picture, we go, this is what it costs to fix it all. Then everybody just, guess I'm gonna bring that up again. And then the capital projects committee budgets a little money to fix up the wall and then something bigger, something goes down at the treatment plant and we need the money for. So we need to come up with, like Chad was saying, some dedicated monies for annual repair or maintenance of it and stick to that budget and stick to that figure. And if we go above it, we gotta ask to go above it or raise it from somewhere, or maybe we gotta go door to door and ask for some corporate donations. If people aren't satisfied with the pace of it, as an elected representative to them, I will invite them to say, sure, I would love to see it all fixed up nice, but we don't have $2 million. If you've got some suggestions or you'd like to make a charitable contribution to the wall, please do so at this time. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing that's been there since 1935, and it's going to be emotional to the people who lived here all their life. But we got some pretty pressing things to take care of in the city. And I'm not going to let anybody tell me that just because there's a couple bad spots in that wall that we run a bad city. I'm not going to let anybody tell me I'm a bad person because I don't want to devote $2 million to fixing up Hatton Park's wall. So we got to come up with a plan.
Very well said.
It's just one final thing here. Do we want to preserve and protect the historical look of the wall? As far as going to spending millions of dollars of putting no new wall around the whole place, ridiculous. No way in hell we got that kind of money. But we want to preserve the historical look of the entire operation there. So, you know, I don't even know if they have mud like they used years ago there to put those stones together.
So what we're gonna do is ask that we get a estimate on a restoration and continue yearly maintenance on it.
Certain sections.
Well, you would have to get it per foot. Or whatever, because the whole wall is gonna be needing to be restored at certain times.
Part of it
Oh,
was
you
really
take-
solid though.
I think what they're gonna do is take a section of the wall and say X amount of dollars to restore this, whether it's this section or this section. That's what an average cost is gonna be.
Now, when you restore it, what are you doing? Are you ripping it all down and rebuilding it?
That would be,
Ooh,
if we're maintaining,
Now you're getting
Then we're
back.
getting
Then you're
back
back
to
to
that.
that 40
that's,
40,000.
that's what we need to understand. What are we asking?
no, you aren't gonna tear that down, anything down at that rate. Way out of line.
I can't believe you couldn't get someone to come in there and patch the sections up of that need it.
Yep.
I don't know what the cost would be because I don't know what a mason would charge you over some guy that you said that Hobbs know. Ask him what he would think you could do with a section of that's really bad. and see what he'd come back with a number or a suggestion. I mean, we're all people around here don't know anything about walls. So ask somebody what he thinks you could do to make that look good. And then each year allocate so much money and do certain parts
The
of it.
problem I struggle with, to Johnny's point before, I said, it would be very hard to bid this out because, you know, I think every section, your restoration might be different. Some
Right.
sections you might have to tear it down to rebuild it 100%. Other sections you might just have to put the cap back on and put
Patch it
that
up.
together. Other sections you gotta remove the cap and re-pour a new cap. So I mean, I've struggled trying to figure in my head how I would bid this out so that, you know, if you would ask for bids from 5 different people, they're all building the same thing. Whereas if you just say, I need this fixed, well, what does that mean? Fixing it to you might be totally different than fixing it to you.
Here's one last concept. Years ago, when that wall was built, it was, the guy walked into the soup kitchen and said, I need 12 men today for this section. You're gonna mix mud. You're gonna carry stone. None of them had masonry degrees. None of them asked for $90 an hour. None of them had to have billion-dollar liability. They were people that shoveled crap on farms. They were people that worked in factories that were closed because of the Great Depression. What's wrong with us using summer help and saying, here's a cement mixer, here's the color type N mortar you use. Mix up a batch, call Teddy when you're ready to start laying some rock in there. I'm saying that it wasn't built by the highest order of masons here. It was built by common people. So that's another approach. Do we get a $190 an hour artisan mason? Or do we use some of our own hardworking people, whatever, but another concept. You can always get 2 prices.
Good, Mike.
I think, number one, I think those estimates we got a few years ago with the same thought in mind, what would it cost to put that wall back together? So I think those estimates are almost honest to what we got. Number two, that we cannot take our summer help and put them down there to do that, because the first thing we're gonna do is have workman compensation claims so high, the city will go bankrupt. I think, but as I can remember, we asked once before, and that's where we went to McMahon or whoever it was, we asked, what would it cost us to do? To start replacing this wall. And that's what we may have to live at. We may have to go at 100 feet section at a time.
And that's where we're at. We need to make a decision. Obviously, you guys have talked about it before. And the questions keep coming up. So where do we want to go with it? Do we want to sit on it and leave it go? Do we want to ask the citizens what they want to do?
I think we should ask the citizens and give them the price. And then we can make the decision. Citizens aren't gonna back us.
And it's not off the table that you guys, like I said before, just set that you're gonna spend this much in maintenance on that wall this year. And then either Ted or Luke or whoever's gonna take the reins on this one would get a couple of guys in, you know, masons or historic guys, whatever, and say, okay, you know, this section of wall from here to here, how much is it gonna be? And you tell me what you're gonna do. So it's gonna be a lot of interaction about, you know, that methodology for repairing the wall, and you're just gonna spend, and it might be, you know, $20 a linear foot here, but over there, it's gonna be $50 a linear foot by the time it's all said and done, because the methodology is way different, just because of the needs of the wall. So, you know, that's another option that you can just talk about, just saying, hey, we're gonna throw this much at it per year. And but again, we've tried to do that in the past, and it's kind of got thrown off the realm just because of other priorities.
Well, we decided what we want to do. Guess not, huh?
Hey, you can do a public hearing, you get the public input. It's gonna cost you, you know, it's gonna, well, and to try to get people to donate money, maybe you'll get some donations. I don't think you're gonna get $2 million in donations in the wall.
Is there anything for grants around that would be for historical stuff
I
for?
think we looked into that. There are some out there, but they're pretty competitive too.
Okay.
You know, and I would guess that historical building preservation would probably rank higher in the scoring than just a wall that isn't being used. Necessarily. But then there's that work too. I mean, then staff is sitting there trying to, grants and manage that as well.
What do you think, Mayor? What do we want to do?
My suggestion is we need to do something, and I believe that we need to ask the citizens what they want with it. Their tax dollars being spent, and I know the big ticket item is roads. And I mean, these are two big ticket items, so I would like to know what they want. We can sit here all day and hash it out. We know what they're at, but
And if we go to a public hearing or forum, whatever you want to call it, maybe it's somebody out there's got a better idea than what we got, or a cheaper way to do something. I don't know neither. And that's another thing that might come out of a public forum is yet an idea from somebody outside.
now remember, to go in that route, you're gonna have to have a couple of them because people work days, people
Yeah.
work nights, so you'd have to have a day shift and a night shift hearing. So
So is that the route that everybody,
we would have to
Wants
have
to do?
representatives there.
well, Tim Roberts, he hasn't said too much lately.
He's still on there. Tim, you still there, right?
I think that's a great idea. The library, they just went about doing their thing without public input, and a lot of people felt jaded. If we have talking sessions, I think that's a great idea to get the community involved. Also, they might have a different idea. Somebody might say, hey, I used to do this and I'll volunteer, or I'll start a committee or foundation to raise the money. So I think that going forward with some public input is a great idea.
Tim, I'd just like to correct you on the library part. The library part, they went ahead and raised $1 million on their own. Now, if we can get that kind of dedication from people for the Hatton Park wall, that's great, but either way, there's still gonna have to be some commitment of city funds. I kind of don't want you to mislead everybody and think that the library committee took advantage of anybody other than their own hard work to raise some money for a project that's also out there that we need to look at. So
And maybe that's what this forum would kick off is somebody.
Right, that's what I'm
we
thinking.
have
There
a
might be-
lot of capital needs for the city. The wall is one of them.
And there might be somebody out there. I mean, historical things are dear to people's hearts. So you might get somebody to say, hey, I got $1 million a year, but all the time. Maybe somebody will win the lottery. I don't know.
So that's my suggestion. I can't make a motion. I can't do nothing. I'm not part of
Do
it.
we want a motion on this?
I don't know that, do you need a motion?
Probably not, huh?
Just-
Motion,
We
but
can just direct staff to set up,
Okay.
work with you guys to set up the public meeting sometime. And the committee, at least the committee, if not the council, should be at that, meeting.
Sure.
That's gonna be the one,
Sure.
you guys are gonna be the one interacting by far.
At least we can get some of the Park and Rec committee to, whoever can come to the meeting.
Informational meeting.
Right, right.
I also think that you should probably entertain our finance director as well. She has some numbers.
Okay.
Well, hypothetically, do you want to try to target that at your next Park and Rec committee meeting, is just having a public
Sure.
meeting ahead of that? You guys are here anyway. Or, I mean, we could have it at the Washington Center to
Future agenda items, huh? Okay, sounds good.
lean right into that, huh?
Yeah, right. Okay, July Park and Rec Month.
Hey,
Chad.
it's Park and Rec month, so obviously we want to focus and, highlight everything that our Parks and Rec staff do, because it's time to share the story of Parks and Recreation. So make sure you guys take a moment and look at all the awesome type of facilities and services that New London has to offer. It's one main reason I came here, and it's just everything that the city has. So New London has a great Parks and Recreation offering. So
I would just like to say too, I think it's every tournament we've had down here. I've gotten numerous compliments on our diamonds. I mean, you guys are doing a fine job of upkeeping the diamonds. It's It's unbelievable how many people actually come because of Pfeiffer Park, Memorial Park. Even though we have Cross Two Park close enough that we can play there too, and they don't have to drive across the city to go to another field. We just get a ton of compliments in baseball and softball for our parks and how nice they really are.
Thank you. All our diamonds, all our recreation, or all our facilities, recreation programs, everything that Ginger does with all her staff, the pool. You know, we've got a full-size gymnasium to our disposal. I mean, there's a lot of good assets that New London has. So it's just time to toot the horn of New London and what we have for Parks and Recreation. So if you see any of the Parks and Rec staff or anyone who helps along with that, say thank you by far. Or Michelle, you know, and Jane sitting at the front window, taking all the reservations and complaints and everything else. So good group. Is that
Director's report.
Yeah, let's see. Don't think we had any service ed. Nope, no service anniversaries on the Parks and Rec side. Ginger had the fireworks, her first time running the fireworks show, and everything went out without a bang, or actually everything went with a bang. So everything went well there. And I believe this coming up weekend, the Styland family has a volunteer group set up to install that gazebo. So we installed the footings last fall, and they're working on getting a volunteer group. So hopefully you see a good chunk of that go up in the next weekend.
Good.
Is that?
Discussion on the mountain bike park.
Yeah, those are just future agenda items. So we'll just put that on there until we have an opportunity to bring somebody in to talk about that. We're kind of waiting for Lauren Deek at the Outagamie County Parks Department. He's the director there, to come in and kind of talk about their comprehensive outdoor recreation plan that they're just finishing up. So we'll see if their comprehensive outdoor plan, you know, talks about anything with that.
In the director's report, just a question. What is happening at what I would call Anchor Park? I understand TAP or Veterans Park, TAP Park, putting sod in. What's happening at the other park that's barricaded off?
We had a trip and fall accident there. Someone tripped and fell, so we're working on remedying that trip hazard.
Okay.
That's what that's
I
all
just
about.
see the fence around there, and I was just curious as to what's going
We
on.
just didn't want a second person to fall, so we're fixing that situation there.
Yeah, 'cause I've got a couple questions. People said what the fence is up for.
Nothing major. We're just gonna fix a trip hazard.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hope you're hurt at the river park. She's not, haven't heard anything from her.
I did reach out and she apologized. She had some personal things going on that she couldn't meet last month. She wasn't gonna be ready tonight, but she talked about maybe having something ready for the August meeting. So she potentially will be on the agenda for that August meeting.
And I don't know, were we thinking about having a parks tour? You do that in August?
We can. I think you talked about maybe doing that public hearing in August.
Okay.
So I think that'll take a good chunk of the
Alright,
agenda.
alright.
So if anything, maybe a September
Remember?
or a parks tour.
Okay, because we got a few new members. That's,
Hopefully you can go see the gazebo or something at
yeah.
at
Right.
Riverside Park. We can kind of figure out whatever else.
See the colors of the fall.
Yeah.
I will. We'll have a Hatton Park wall walk. There you go.
Yeah.
Down the park. That's
It's a great school.
actually not the worst idea there either.
The mosquitoes are bad. We won't go in then. You know, down in that back park for sure. Okay, confirm our next meeting date on Tuesday, August 3rd.
Yep, that would be the
I
next.
just have a note about that. That's National Night Out. So I don't know if you, last year we did it same night, but I just want to make you aware that this place will be packed full of people.
Well, I think with having a public hearing, might entertain a different date too.
You should have the hearing in September.
What about having it on
Yeah,
the,
we can push it out and still, we can get more.
what about the second? What about running it with the public works? On the second?
Or you could push the public information meeting to September, because you talked about maybe doing that at the Washington Center anyway.
Yeah.
We're in no rush to do that.
Yeah.
We can take our time and
Yeah.
be diligent about it.
Be a good thing or bad thing, having it the same night.
We did last year.
Yeah.
And then everybody goes out and enjoys
Yeah.
National Night Out.
Yeah.
Didn't
It was
help.
fine.
Okay, so we're gonna leave it at the third then?
And I would push that public hearing.
Public
off.
hearing to August. September, yeah, September, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's gonna be August, yeah.
Okay, everything is there. We're looking, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then, I guess.
Move to adjourn.
Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor?
All right.
We're adjourned.
Thanks, Tim. See you later.